Alright, let's take a look. Sketch the graph of each function. Function number 1, y equals x squared plus 4x plus 6. The graph that you're provided there, I'm going to take that as a hint because if I look at the first two, they're very different. the x values and the y values are very different. So I'm betting that they're positioned just right to get all the good points on this graph. So if I look at the x values on this one, number 1, got -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to make an xy table. Okay, and I'm going to use those values from the graph for my x. So if I let x be -4, I got to plug it in for x in the function and see what I get for y. So that's going to be -4 squared plus 4 times -4 plus 6. So I just took out all my x's and replaced them with -4's. Okay, now I got to evaluate that. So -4 squared, that's 16. Maybe I'll write that small up here so I don't forget. 4 times -4, that's -16. So I got 16 plus -16 plus 6. Well, 16 plus -16, that's going to be 0, and 0 plus 6 is 6. So our first point is -4, 6. So I'll go to -4 on the x-axis here and 6 on the y-axis. So my point will be right there. Okay, let's look at -3. So now instead of -4, I'm going to plug in -3 for x. So I'm doing -3 squared. Well, that's 9. 4 times -3, that's -12. So I've got 9 plus -12 plus 6. Well, 9 plus -12, well, that's the same as 9 minus 12. That's -3. And -3 plus 6 is 3. So -3, 3 is a point on my graph. -3 on the x, 3 on the y. There it is. Okay, let's go to -2. So now I've got -2 squared plus 4 times -2 plus 6. Then I'll look at -1 and scoot that up. Then I'll look at 0, 1, and 2. So again, with each of these, I'm just going to replace my x with that value. So for -2, I get -2 squared is 4. 4 times -2 is -8. So 4 plus -8 is -4. -4 plus 6 is 2. Okay, so I went ahead and finished my table. Now that you've got the idea of plugging in the x value and seeing what you get for y. So now I've got -2, 2 was this point here. So let's plot that. So -2 on the x, 2 on the y. Then I've got -1, 3 right here. Okay, then I've got 0, 6 there. Then I've got 111 and 218 are off the graph, but you can already see I've got enough points there to make my curve, which is a parabola. And there it is. Notice one way to check to make sure you're doing this right. If you look at these y values, you got 6, 3, 2, 3, 6. You've got that symmetry where it goes it goes down and then it goes back up, and the values repeat. So 6, 3, 2 is the minimum, and then it goes back up 3 and then 6. Be careful with these ones on the bottom here when you got that negative. So if I'm going to plug in, say I'm going to plug in this -5 for x. So I've got negative x squared. So I've got negative -5 squared minus 2 times -5 minus 4. So it's going to be negative 5 squared is 25. 2 times -5 is -10, so minus -10 minus 4. So with a negative x squared, plugging in a negative value and then subtracting a negative, it gets a little confusing. But again, find those y values and then look for that symmetry. It should be a U shape. These ones here are going to open down like that. Okay, excuse me. I hope that helps.